you know. You want to tell people about the amazing things you've done. But the problem with this is that no one is ever going to get through it. In the history of the world, no venture capitalist has ever read the seventh bullet point. It has never happened. And so what you need to do is think about how to boil your message down to the really key idea and speak in a language that an intelligent 12-year-old would understand. Okay, so let me show you how I rebuilt this slide, this how it works slide. We trigger new neural connections at the push of a button. Proprietary software creates new neural connections with any device on the market. One, we collect brain data through the vagus nerve. Two, our algorithm develops a personalized treatment plan. Three, the device stimulates brain activity. I broke it down into three radically oversimplified steps using relatively short and small words. And then I gave them a picture because people like pictures. People like pictures. Now, if I look at this, do you actually understand how this works? No, you don't. If you actually spent the time to carefully read the longer version, you would probably have a much better sense of how it actually works if you're also a PhD expert in the field. But what we did is gave them a plot, a story that they can remember and retell in their own head about, okay, so it does this and then this. That makes sense to me. I get it. I see the whole picture. Now, you still want the dense slides. If you're a very technical founder, then what I recommend you do is have a technical appendix. And that technical appendix is really valuable because at some point you are going to get into due diligence. And during due diligence, they're going to pull their own PhD out of the basement, their own engineer out of the basement, and have him look at your stuff and decide if it's legit or not. At that point, you want the really dense, boring slides. But the average venture capitalist spends less than 13 seconds on each slide. You can understand my slide in 13 seconds. There's no chance in hell you understand the original slide in 13 seconds. 13 seconds is almost no time at all. I've been making this point about 13 seconds for now about 16 seconds. You do not have much time to communicate ideas. Okay, so to summarize, what do we want to do here? First, we want to be Miss Frizzle, not a PhD dissertation. Miss Frizzle is, of course, from the Magic School Bus, the best science television show ever made. And in the Miss Frizzle telling of the universe, cells worked and they were quite simple and you could go inside them and understand it. Tell simple stories about your deep scientific and technical breakthroughs so that people believe they understand it. And then that gets you into the room so you can give them the more full, complex story and get into due diligence. Okay, Miss Frizzle, not PhD dissertation. Use pictures, not words. There's a reason that if you look at an advertisement in a magazine or if you look at an ad in your Instagram feed, it's a picture or a video. It's not a bunch of text because people respond to visuals much more strongly than they respond to language. If you are going to use words, keep them short, keep them punchy, and keep them as simple as you possibly can. Pictures are better than words. And then finally, you can always have a technical appendix. That's a great thing to have. You should have the technical underpinnings. You should have the real deal underneath it. And sometimes I even say asterisks at the bottom of a simple slide for a clearer picture of how this exactly works. Go to the technical appendix. Or if you have a PhD, ignore this and go to the technical appendix. And then everybody feels good about it. Okay, that is number 3. Now let's talk about number 4, traction. And this is the point where you show that it's working. There has to be some way to show that this thing is really taking off, that this thing is doing the magic that you promised earlier. So how can you do that? Don't do it this way. This is another slide that my wife would make and that I would be banned from. This is, again, a real slide from a client. There are 5 bullet points. That immediately breaks my heart. 5 bullet points is too many. Don't use bullet points if you can avoid it. Except on the team slide, maybe, but don't use bullet points. So this is already too complicated. There is no argument that we're making, and we have some data on a very ugly Microsoft graph, but I don't know what the data is supposed to tell me. You should spoon feed the takeaways directly to the people. Don't let the venture capitalists think. Don't let them derive their own meaning from your slides and from your data. You should spoon feed it and make it extraordinarily clear precisely the thing that they should believe. And so here's how I rebuilt this slide. This is the most effective MS drug ever studied. I took the 5 bullet points, stripped out some nonsense, and turned it into 2 simple sentences with a nice picture. Our gold standard double-blind study of more than 2,000 adults over 9 months showed a dramatic improvement. I know it's published in Science. Nice. There we go. We got a pretty picture in there. What happened too with this graph? Let's look. What's the difference between these graphs? Little fun with numbers. What I did is I started it at instead of zero, I started it at 16. Okay, so I changed the y-axis so that I made it bigger. Also, sometimes I see people make a big fat graph along the bottom that's skinny. If you have a big skinny graph along the bottom, it doesn't look like it goes up very much. But if you make it half the slide, it looks like it goes up a lot. It's a really dumb thing. These are very smart people you're talking to, but those little things matter. You want to give the feeling of a hockey stick. You want to give the feeling of a big difference. So we changed where the break was in the slide. And then we also put the call out, 43% improvement over placebo group. That's beautiful. That's clear. I know exactly what's happening. This slide could never survive in 13 seconds. This slide you get in about 3 seconds, and you can read or not read everything down below as you see fit. Much better improvement. Okay, so then the takeaway box is here. And again, Miss Frizzle over PhD dissertation, picture over words, and you can always have a technical appendix. This is a great example of double checking to make sure that you don't duplicate a slide.